maybe a haircut and a shave, but I haven't been on here for a little while, so I figured I'd pop in, say hi, talk to you guys a little bit. I hope your weekend was good. Mine was pretty good. The highlight of my weekend is I cut my father-in-law's hair. I'm a barber of sorts. I am a barber, technically, but that was cool. How was your weekend, guys? How did you guys spend your weekend? What's up, Raymond? How's it going, man? How are you? How's your weekend? How was your weekend? It's rearing its end, but it's not over yet. Walaikum salam, Gracie. I'm glad you're here. How are you? How are you? I haven't been on live in a couple of days. I'm thinking about doing some interviews next week. I have a couple of people waiting for me to interview them, but I've been tired. I've been real tired. Busy. Noise campaign. I was thinking about noise campaigns today. I was having a conversation with my father-in-law. They were talking about there's some Muslims in like a public park that were doing like prayer calls and stuff like that. And my father-in-law is from a country that is Muslim. I mean, he's not Muslim, but he is from a country that is like 95% Muslim. It's not exactly a Muslim nation, but everybody's Muslim there. He's from Senegal, right? So it's not like a Muslim country, but you know, the people there are Muslim. I say this in the same way that like America is not a Christian country, but everybody is there pretty much. I mean, the great majority of Americans are Christian. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It's like his country is Muslim, but the laws are not like Muslim laws. I guess is what I'm saying. Anyways, he explained it to me. It made sense when he explained it to me because I was like, because he told me his country is not a Muslim country, and I was like, of course it is. And then he explained to me the difference between like Saudi Arabia and his country. It's like, yes, the mass majority of the population is Muslim, but it's not the same. Anyways, the point is I was talking talking to my father-in-law about noise campaigns because he was saying that there were a bunch of Muslim people that were doing calls for prayer in a park, and I just let him know like that's legal. Like there's nothing forbids it in this country, Canada. Nothing forbids it. You can do like uh you know public prayer in a group or alone, solo. That's not against the law. But then he told me it was like at 8 at night, like 8 or 9 at night, and I was like, yeah, that is illegal as a matter of fact. As soon as it gets to be like 7, like making noise outside, it can become illegal depending on how loud you are. Hopefully they weren't too loud, but there's a lot of Islamophobia where I live, and it's not like hidden. People are very outspoken about how they don't like, you know, Muslim people. And I'm just like, why? I mean, obviously, my father-in-law is not one of them. He lives in a country where, yeah, like I said, 95%, if not more, of people are Muslim, you know. As a matter of fact, I was shocked when he told me that when I learned that they were Christians because I was like, but you're from Senegal. It's a Muslim country. How are you Christian, you know? Um, but yeah, he's surrounded by Muslims constantly. He has Muslims in his family and everything. So, we don't have any hatred towards Muslim, but um, the people of my province, state province, the same thing. The people from Quebec, they're very Islamophobic. They've been brainwashed by the media into believing that somehow, some way, Muslim people are like the source of their problem. I was reading this article um, on like an Instagram post that was talking about like halal should not be forced upon us, because if you go to like any grocery store within my state, they have halal options. They always have halal options, and it's very like towards the forefront because there's a pretty big Muslim population here, and they're basically just advertising to their customers. But there's a bit of like a inferiority complex, I would say, where people feel attacked that, oh, this is not about me, so I don't like it. You know, it's the same thing as like, for example, you could walk into a store and speak to the cashier at the store and have a conversation in English with them, and someone who doesn't speak English, because the first language in my state is not English, it's French. And they're very particular about that. Like, you can't have any advertising that is primarily English. It has to be in French and then English in smaller letters after, if at all. It's a law, like it's an actual law. I think it's law 106 or 101, la loi 101. Yeah, it's the Bill 101 in Quebec, the Charter of the French language. So, anyways, there's a lot that's involved with it as well. Like, if you came if you came to this country, you can't send your children to an English speaking school. They must go to a French school. It's very, anyways, they're very particular about the French language. They don't want it to die, I guess, understandably. To each his own. But if you walk into a store and speak to the cashier in English and have a conversation with that person, someone who is someone who doesn't speak English will get offended and tell you to speak French. And I mean, this has happened to me many times. I'm not just like saying, oh, this might happen. This has happened to me many times. And like, every time I turn around, I'm like, I'm not talking to you. And they're like, so what? You're in Quebec. We speak French here. I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but it's a free country. I'm allowed to speak whatever language I want to speak. And they get offended. Anyways, they don't like Muslims here. I never understood it. Like, how many Muslims do you even know to not like them? Zero? Okay. All right. I mean, I know some Muslims that I like, and I know some Muslims I don't like, but I would never dislike all Muslims because I had a bad experience with, I mean, racism is just ignorance. I always forgive racism. It's not that big of a deal. Um, it's just ignorance. I always think to myself, if you knew them, you wouldn't hate them. Or at least I strongly doubt it. And maybe you would. And if you would, you're probably the problem. That's, you know, you're the common denominator here. Anyways, um, thanks for the compliment. Appreciate it. Let me read some comments. There we go. There I am. There we go. All right. How was your weekend, guys? How are you? How are you doing? I haven't spoken to you guys in a little while. Hey, Lorna. What's up, Lorna? How's it going? Halal is a very clean way of eating. I don't know what halal is exactly, but I can only guess that it's clean. Oh, wait, we got some comments here. I want to see your channel first. Ooh. Temu Elixir. That's a pretty good username. You Christian. Temu Elixir. I got bullied at church yesterday, even though literally everyone liked my drumming. Thank God my crush is there and she comforted me. She was so freaking nice. We hanged out and it was pretty fun. Hey, that's what's up, man. That's what's up, Phil. I like that. That story has a good ending. Sounds like you had a nice Sunday at church. After all, you found out who were your enemies and who were your friends. That's a blessing, is it not? I could share so much with you about Muslim countries, America, and Islamic law. I mean, if you think there's information I should have, I would love to know it. Anyways, Raymond, the point is, Raymond, I'm sorry you're going through noise campaigns. That's really annoying. I mean, I don't say that from like a place of like knowledge because on a personal note, all noise campaigns against me have been terribly, um, terrible failures because noise doesn't bother me. I can sleep through anything. I can ignore anything. It really absolutely pointless to bother me with noise campaigns. You know, there are actual things that do bother me. I'm obviously not going to share them. But noise campaigns is not one of them. You know, I told the story about this old man who would rev his Harley Davidson bike by my window every single weekend, like every Sunday and Saturday morning. I mean, like clockwork. He was just there revving his bike. And then he asked me like, "Hey, if it bothers you, I can go do it somewhere else." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if you did it somewhere else." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem, I'll do that." And then he never did. He just kept coming back, you know. And at the time, I didn't know I was being gang stalked. Uh, I, I didn't really give it much thought because it didn't bother me. I mean, I really could not care less. Um, but he just kept coming back, you know, every single, every single weekend. He just kept coming back. I was very confused. Eventually, I figured it out. I was like, oh, this poor old man. I mean, poor as in financially poor. He had no money to buy a Harley Davidson. If you saw his car, you would be like, why did he have this expensive bike and this cheap ass car? But I figured out, I put it together eventually that they gave him that bike so that he could annoy me and do a noise campaign on me. And, and all I could think to myself was, wasn't he afraid? Because I mean, I'm not small. I'm, you know, I mean, I'm not huge either. Like, I'm not 6 feet or anything like that, but I'm not small. I'm a large fellow. And in my head, I'm just like, you're like 70. At the lowest, he was like maybe 68, you know? I mean, I'm in my 30s. Aren't you afraid I'm gonna do something to you? And if you're not afraid I'm gonna do something to you, then perhaps it's because you think I'm an okay fella. And if I'm an okay fella, why are you harassing me or attempting to, you know? It's all very confusing. Trying to understand bad people is it's very confusing. And you always have I always have to like come back to the rationale of they're bad people. They do bad things and they have bad intentions because they're bad people. There's no like further explanation that is needed after, oh, they're evil. But somehow in order to like understand it and compute it, I'm like, what could drive me to do something like that? But we're not the same, you know? Anyways. Hey Deb, how's it going? How are you? The link you sent me? I did not see anything you sent me. I didn't see anything. I'll check after the chat. Did you send it on Instagram or Facebook or I didn't see anything. I don't have any memory of anything. A lot of gems with a group in Chicago. Hmm, sorry. The animal is appreciated for its sacrifice, and we thank God for the nourishment. It's the human way the animal is treated with while alive, no hormone or antibiotics when slaughtered. The animal does not know it's coming, and it is quick and painless, and a prayer is said. Oh, I mean, that much I knew about. I mean, I didn't know about the no hormones or antibiotics. I did not know about that. But I did know about, the humane way that the animal is treated while alive and also the way that it's slaughtered. Um, I didn't know a prayer was said, though. That's interesting information. Hmm. I was married to a Muslim once. He was a good man, became an imam after we divorced. Religion is overrated and separates us, in my opinion. Hmm. Hmm. It's an interesting point. Religion is overrated. A couple of months ago, I might have agreed with you. Um, I don't think religion is overrated. I think uh, everything is what you make of it, and I believe that evil people use it um, wrong. That's what I think. I don't think it's overrated. I think there's a lot of great things in religious books. I think it just matters, whether you're, a good person with good intentions, or if you're going through something like through some struggle, you might find some comfort and advice in those books. But if you are a bad person, and mind you, bad people think that they're good. That's really the mind warp is the same way that you think you're a good person, the worst people on earth also think that they're good people. They think they're better people than you are. But once you study narcissism, you understand that, um, like on an academic level, you know, as much as I've studied it, I don't actually understand it. I only understand it on paper. But it does not compute because you would have to be void of sense in order to actually grasp it and understand it. And at that point, I mean, you're void of sense. What you understand really doesn't matter. Um, what they understand doesn't matter is what I'm saying. But yeah, if you're void of sense, what you understand really doesn't matter. But yeah, uh, yeah. But I could see your point though. when you look at the context of the history and how it's been used to, enslave black people, conquer nations, uh, you know, hurt innocents, things of that nature, you go, this seems a bit, you know, this seems to be bad, but bad people don't need um, they don't need justification to do bad things. They will create justifications to do bad things. It just so happens that the books were open to interpretation. It's used as a tool to separate mankind. I agree. I agree. I do agree with that. I do agree that it's used as a tool to separate mankind, but that um, I think that a lot of things are used as a tool to separate mankind, whether it be the subject of abortion, religion, obviously, sexism, classism, racism, uh, the whole trans debates that became super like mainstream. Everybody can't seem to shut up about it. Um, you know, I think many things are used to separate people in order to conquer them. And I think the biggest one, or at least the one that has been the most popular within our time, is abortion. Obviously, I don't want to like share my opinion or necessarily hear anybody's opinion on abortion. And, I think it doesn't matter. Um, Ultimately, I have my own opinion and you have yours. And, you know, as much as like people who usually hold my opinion would be shocked at people who don't hold our same opinions, uh, I really could care less. I really could care less how other people feel about abortion. Um, Not because I don't think it's an important subject, but because there's bigger fish to fry. Obviously, I'm not saying that abortion is not an important subject. I just think that it should not be used in politics. It should not be up to politicians. I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm both, I'm both pro-life and pro-choice. You know, I just think it's none of our freaking business. I mean, I'm pro-life, to be honest, but you know, it's none of our business. Anyways, anyways. Jeez. Uh, have you been hacked before? Of course. Of course. I have. I just wish I kept these messages that Facebook would like, or Instagram and these other apps sent me, saying, "Oh, this IP address tried to, this person, from this IP address tried to log in. Is this you?" And I was like, "No." I just wish I kept them and like hired an investigator and like, "Hey, tell me whose IP address that is. Figure that out. Here's some money," so that I could, actually have proof of who attempted to hack me. But yeah, I have been hacked before. A personal relationship with the Most High. Yeah, I think that's what really important, honestly. And anyone who's awakened, let's put it this way, anyone who's awakened, I believe, understands that um, what's important is a relationship with the Most High, no matter what you call it, whether you call the Most High Allah, God, um, Buddha, Hashem, Yeshua. It doesn't matter. I think that I think that religion is a good thing that is being used for evil. I mean, I sort of look, it's, anyways, I was about to make a bad comparison. I'd rather not, now that I think about it. Um, I agree that religion is abused by people, but religion in its truest form is beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that for sure. I think religion is a beautiful thing, and I think when it is used to bring people together, it's beautiful as well. Um, Community is something that we've lost a lot, and I don't think that it's by chance. I think that a lot of the elites were planning on destroying our sense of community by pushing this idea of like being proud of being independent when we're social animals and we were never meant to be independent in the first place. I think a lot of us were kind of sold the these ideals or these ideas of that go against community, because there are also some bad or some tough things that come with community, such as the judgment of your peers, which can be seen as a good or bad thing, and which can also be a good or a bad thing. Uh, in certain countries, there are certain things that you would never do or never say because you're thinking to yourself, what will my grandfather think of me? Or, I am dishonoring my last name by partaking in these activities. And nowadays, people don't take any pride in their community or their families or anything like that. They just think, I'm gonna do whatever makes me happy. And, that's like a road to, that's a quick road to hell. We are allowed our own opinions and beliefs. It's with grace we accept others' perspectives. Right, right. I agree. Man, I like Lorna. Lorna's great. Lorna's great. I agree. I think that I can have a very strong opinion about something, and your opinion can really offend me. And I can still think to myself, you're still a person, you know? You have your reasons as to why you believe what you believe. Just because you believe something that offends me doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Hey, Kamisa, I didn't even see you there. Nice to see you too. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for the prayers. I'm sending prayers and love to you and your family as well. Thank you for being here. Um, I'm not even gonna read that comment. Alaikum salam. I take pride in my family. Good. I wish I could take pride in my family. You know, I have members of my family that I love, of course, but my family has been divided by the CIA. Well, I'm not kidding though. I'm just jesting right now, joking. Um, but yeah, you know what I was thinking about today? I saw this post somebody shared on Facebook saying, "I'm not a schmererist. Take me off of the um, sorry, TSDB list, which is sorry, the Schmererism screening database, whatever." And it made me think of this lady who was filming this ICE agent, right? And the ICE agent took a picture of her, with like a device that has facial recognition. And he had her information and everything. And then she was just saying like, this is perfectly legal. I showed this to you guys a few months ago. And she was just saying like, I'm allowed to film. It's completely legal. And he was like, yeah, you're allowed. And and he's like, then why are you taking my information? He's like, well, because, we have a nice little database, and now you're considered a domestic schmerist, meaning that he just added her to the list that we're all on. Everyone here is on that list, except, obviously the gang stalkers, but that are lurking. But he basically told her in words that she couldn't understand, but in words that any targeted individual was like, there it is. There it is. He just added her to that list, to that schmerism. What's the word? I keep forgetting what that S stands for. The schmerism screening database. And the TSDB list. The FBI's TSDB list that we are all on. And, fusion centers are, anyways, you guys, obviously, I'm not teaching you guys anything, hopefully. But I was just thinking about that, about the fact that she might be the only person who actually has proof of being added to the list for nothing. I mean, literally, she wasn't like messing with the ICE agents or anything like that. She filmed them. That's fully allowed. She did not impede his investigation. She was just filming him. ICE agents hired gang stalkers from the same bureau. Yeah, yeah, definitely. The things that people will do and then justify under the umbrella of I was just following orders. It's like, I don't think you understand, buddy. Like, you read a history book? And these people that participate in these tyrannical operations, try to sit them down and help them understand or get them to understand that this tyranny that you're participating in, it will eat you one day. There are so many people that voted for, I mean, I don't mean to like, shit on Trump or anything like that. Not because I like him. Just because I feel like it's pointless. He's irrelevant to the point I'm making, but there are so many people that voted for Trump because they wanted immigrants. They wanted illegal immigrants out, and they didn't understand that they're not just going to go after illegal immigrants. They're going to go after you as well. You're an immigrant. Just because you're awaiting just because you did it the right way and you're awaiting to receive your status does not mean that you will not be targeted. And there are so many people. I mean, most of them were Cuban, but there are so many people that voted for Trump. They were singing the song, "Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald." I don't know if you heard that banger, but they were singing that song, and the man who was singing, his wife was on the news saying he betrayed us. Donald Trump betrayed us. He deported my husband. And the whole time I'm just looking at it like, you voted for the face-eating leopard party, and now you're mad that the leopards ate your face? You deserve it. But try to sit an ICE agent down and make them understand this tyranny that you're bringing to people, to innocence. Because within these um, ICE detention facilities, like 2 to 3% of them actually have criminal records. The rest are just people that were either here illegally and working and participating in the economy of America by buying stuff in America and working in America and paying taxes in America, or people that were trying to get their citizenship, residency. And sometimes it's people that are actual citizens that got arrested and they're trying to figure out a way to get out, but it's taking a long time. Try to sit an ICE agent down and let him understand that, you're going after innocent people. You don't understand that you will be next eventually. Like there will come a time where I mean, I'm not saying you because obviously you are, one of the tyrants, but I'm saying like you as in your blood, your loved ones. Eventually they'll come for someone you love, for someone you care about, and it'll be too late. Who's going to listen to you? Who's going to feel bad for you? Who's going to, donate to your GoFundMe? GoFundMe is a funny thing, you know. I just feel like if you have a system that requires GoFundMe for people to like survive, it's like, yeah, something is wrong with the system, but nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Anyways, yeah, Lorna, me too. I so wish I had that. I wish I had the proof of, look, these people didn't just add me to the database. You know, they were gang stalking some other guy before me, and he threatened me. Look, I have to come to terms with the fact that uh, I will never have that. These are people I blocked long ago because I figured out these people are very antagonistic. I don't know what their deal is, but I'm gonna block them, and now I've lost all conversations with these people. I can't imagine getting through to a fix called ICE agent. Not happening. Not happening. The only thing that these people will understand is pain. Once that stuff starts happening to people that they love or to themselves, they will then rethink. Looking forward to see your next interview. We're doing better interviews than Dr. De Facto these days. Dr. De Facto is great. I was listening to one of his videos yesterday. I love Dr. De Facto. Shout out to Dr. De Facto. We're friends on Facebook, actually. I didn't realize it was him because like that's not his name. He has like a very generic name on Facebook. And at one point he gave me a call and I didn't pick up, and then he called me again and I was like, "Who is this?" Like, and then he started talking and I was like, "I know this voice." I love that guy. He's great. Dr. De Facto. I'm reading a book, Treading on Spirits, which is helping in my strength and looking towards spiritual strength. So hard to comprehend. Define when reading Bible. Any suggestions? You mean suggestions on looking towards spiritual strength? Are you Christian, Camisa? Because I mean, I do have suggestions. Absolutely, I have suggestions. You're asking the right guy. Are you a Christian? I hope so. Because if you are, I've got lots of suggestions. I've got some things I think you should read if you're looking to get like spiritually strengthened. Isaiah 48:10. Who was it that proposed that to me? I think it was Tarai. No, it wasn't Tarai. It was another black woman. Keita. Keita Ward. It was Keita Ward, who I think is black. I'm not sure. You are Christian. Hey, Isaiah 48:10. Let me read this to you. Okay, so when I read this to you, it's not going to make much sense, but I'm going to tell you a story that relates to it and you'll understand. Okay? Let me make this quick for you guys that are not like into the whole spiritual or Christianity or whatever. So Isaiah 10 says, "See, I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." What does that mean? Let me tell you a story that relates to Isaiah 48:10. A woman goes to a priest and asks him, "When will I know that I am living my life and I am shaping myself in the image of God? When will I know that God has worked on me to make me in his image?" And the priest answers, "Go to the blacksmith and ask him to show you how silver is made, how he refines silver." Because she's asking, how will I know when God has refined me into his image? So he says, go to the blacksmith, ask him about his silver refining process. So she goes to the blacksmith and asks him, "May I assist and look at your silver refining process?" And the blacksmith says, "Yes, of course, I can show you." So he puts the silver through the fire, to remove the imperfections, and he does it a couple of times, and eventually he turned and he says, "That's it. The silver is ready. It has been refined. It is pure. It is void of imperfections." And she asks him, "Well, how do you know that it is, pure and void of imperfections?" And the blacksmith says, "I know it's pure and void of imperfections when I can look at it and see my reflection in it." The moral of the story here is that we all suffer. Christ suffered. He died for our sins. Knowingly, he accepted his fate and went to his death. We all suffer. I believe that the difference between good people and bad people is what you do with your suffering. Bad people take their suffering and they turn around and go, somebody else has to feel this suffering. And they go out in the world and hurt people, and it makes them feel good. Good people do not allow the fire of refinement, suffering, to destroy them. And they also don't allow the fire of suffering, refinement, to make them bitter, angry, vengeful. They allow it to make them better people. They turn to the world and try to help those that are suffering because they know how it feels. They give advice to people in order to help them avoid suffering too much. Does that make sense? Isaiah 48:10. Another one I like is Psalms 94. Well, you know what? Honestly, if I was you, I think, I like Psalms 94, 93. Um, I think the entire story, Psalms was written by David, by King David. Well, David at the time, but I think his story is very Psalm 91, 92. I mean, the whole thing, honestly, which is what I was about to say, is I think you should just read the whole thing, you know? Perhaps start with like reading Psalms 91 to 94. It's not too long, but I believe that the whole story of David, there's actually a TV show about the story of David. It's called The House of David. It's a great show. I believe the story of David is one that is very encouraging, you know. I think I think seeing our suffering, as much as I hate, and I hated when people spoke to me in that way before. I think that seeing our suffering as an opportunity to become better people. And I don't mean better people just as in better people to other people. I mean better people to ourselves as well, right? If if people were able to hurt me because I did not vet these people properly, and I become more um what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, French, if English is not my first language. I have more discernment now in choosing who gets to be around me because I've suffered the pain of betrayal. Suffering has its purpose. I am now a better person. And because I am a better person, those around me will benefit from that. You know? Say I have a friend who's dating someone and they present that person to me, and immediately I can see all the signs that they're not seeing. I can sit that person down and try to find the right words to let them know, like, hey, I think you should be careful. I think you should move very slowly. I think you should see how this person behaves with you when you disagree with them. I think you should see how this person behaves with you when they don't get what they want from you, you know, so that you can see their true character, because I'm seeing something you're not seeing. And I become a better person to my surroundings and myself. I couldn't have become that had I not suffered. I'm gonna stop here. I hope that helps. Let me know if you want to hear more, because I ramble and I can go on for a really long time. Forgive the ones who don't know what they do, but I call for justice for those who do know. I call for justice for everybody. Everybody. I don't care. I don't care that you don't know. I've suffered all the same, whether you know or you don't. Shukran. Shukran means thank you. I have Arab friends. Uh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this for the past few days, you know. I I used to have, not I used to, I still do. I have all this empathy and um, pity and all these positive feelings and emotions for the people who have participated in my suffering that I deem to be ignorant as to what it is that they're participating in. Um, but And I'm not saying I don't still feel that way. I still feel that way. I there are certain people that participated in my suffering that I'm like, I always knew you were a bad person. I'm not shocked. But there are certain people that participate in my gang stalking that I'm just like, you're not a bad person. I know you. I know you. Um, but this is advice that people usually don't give to themselves. It's advice that people usually give to others. And it's advice that I would give to someone else, but I needed my wife to tell me. My wife was right. Don't tell her I said that. Uh, but she said something to me, and she said, Kevin, put yourself in their place. Put yourself in their shoes. Say you were in their position. Someone came to you and said some things about them, or said the same things that were told to them about you, but it was said to you about them. Would you do what they're doing? And I mean, I can't predict the future. I can't I can't predict anything, but I can tell you this. I would never, I would never participate in hurting anyone, no matter what you told me about them. I might turn my back on them. I might give them a stern talking to. I might ghost them. I would never do directed conversation with them to mess with them, to get a reaction out of them. I would never participate in gaslighting them afterwards. I would never do that. I would never participate in a campaign to destroy their lives. I wouldn't participate in a campaign to ruin their day. I would never do that. So, you know, I feel what you're saying, Lorna. And I often feel that way, you know? Um, and when I call for justice, you have to understand that I'm not calling for like, oh, I want these people to perish and their bloodline to be cursed or whatever, you know? I don't claim to make justice, and I don't want anyone to suffer or to be hurt on my behalf. Not interested. I don't want that. I don't need that. I'm not interested in that. Um, whatever whatever divine justice is, that's what I want. And I will let divine justice be decided by the divine. But I want justice. I want everybody um, I want everybody who's involved in this to receive some kind of justice. And I do realize that I'm not a perfect person. I've done some bad things in my life, and I think I deserve justice, for some of the things I did as well, you know. And I was speaking to someone today, and they said, these people will pay. These people will pay. And I think that this is like, this can be a comforting thought when the suffering is too much. I know for me, it has been. It's very temporary though. Um, but the truth is, in order to participate in something like that, in order to hurt your fellow man, in order to do these things, one has to be bitter, miserable, small. Isn't that punishment enough? Is that not punishment? Perhaps it's not enough to you. Is that not punishment? I think the same way that, when it comes to gang stalking, the process is the punishment, you know, I think that when it comes to bitter, small, miserable people, The process is the punishment. Now, granted, what they're doing hurts us. It does. They're effectively trying to destroy our lives. But think about how miserable you have to be to participate in something like that repeatedly. I'm just saying. Because one thing I can tell you is I would never. There are some people who have done some really horrific things to me. I would never participate in any campaign to hurt them. Because that's not me. That's not who I am. And they deserve it. They deserve it. But it's not me. The process is the punishment. I don't care how much money, drugs, or whatever they offer me. I would never purposely try to damage someone, even if I know they were talking badly about me. That's where we're on this side of it. Yeah. What you're saying, we don't move in fear. I'm glad you're here, by the way. What you're saying is so true. There is nothing you could say or offer me to convince me to hurt a fellow human being. Because as much as they might not know the extent to which we suffer, it's hard to grasp. It's hard to grasp what we go through. Sometimes I listen to people give their testimonies and tell, or they'll tell me directly, like in direct messages. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I was listening to this lady saying that she's being hit with directed energy weapons and they're like blasting her brain. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, who would believe this? Say you're a person that is participating in gang stalking and your mission is follow them. All right, you're following them. And then later on, you're on your phone on Instagram and you see this person that you were following talk about being blasted by directed energy weapons. You might not even believe that. Even though you're being paid to follow that person, you might be inclined to think, well, I didn't blast her with directed energy weapons. I don't even know what that is. It's impossible to be believed because what's happening to us is unbelievable. So anyways, God fights my battles. You know what? There were two things I wanted to talk about. The first thing I wanted to talk about was Sam Altman gave the speech where he was saying that AI is on the brink of being able to analyze your entire life and get an idea of who you are and better help with your life, right? He was saying it would analyze all of your emails, all of your text messages, all of your phone conversation and everything, and it would get a better idea of who you are. And of course, he said, of course, you can turn off these settings. You can turn off these settings and decide what will be spied on. Idiots. And everybody that was commenting on what he had just said was that, if he had said this like 15 years ago, his company would immediately, it would be gone. People would immediately be like, what? No, you're not spying on me, Nowadays, people are like super excited about that idea of like, oh, AI will know me better and will be able to like guide me in my life and stuff like that. And all I could think was, if he's saying that they're on the brink of it, that means it already exists. That's what that means, right? And I was of course thinking to myself, like, all of the details that have been used in my life to turn people against me. Like, say I had a conversation with one of my cousins about someone in my life, and I talked behind their backs. I said some mean things, some hurtful things behind their backs in a private conversation with a member of my family. And then it's being used to turn that person against me. And of course, they're doing directed conversation regarding some things that I said about them, you know? And I was just thinking to myself, like, that technology is probably already being used on targeted individuals, you know? And even if you look at like you know, the company itself, Sam Altman and that other, what's the name of that other psychopath that runs the company with them? Uh OpenAI. What's his face? Freezy haired bastard. I'm sorry guys. Alex Karp. Hate that guy. He's the co-founder and CEO of the software firm Palantir Technologies. I thought he was involved with OpenAI as well. Perhaps I'm wrong. I strongly criticize OpenAI. I guess not. Anyways, but I was Peter Thiel. There we go. But I was thinking about what something that Alex Karp had said while he was definitely high. But he had said like, oh, we're doing targeting of all kind, and he was asked, is your company being used to to also to kill people, like to unalive people? And he was saying, of all kinds of targeting is being done with Palantir. We're targeting all of our enemies. When you end up on the Schmererist screening database, you're an enemy. Uh, but I do believe that when it comes to the targeted individuals program, the gang stalking program, I do believe that AI is being used. It's not like you have um, it's not like you have a FBI agent just sitting there watching you all day, right? It's like, no, I don't, and one of the one of the things that has been added to YouTube, I'm a YouTuber, malgré moi. How do you say malgré moi in English? Despite despite not wanting to be, I don't want to be a YouTuber. Um, despite it all, right? I'm a YouTuber, and one of the tools that has been added to YouTube Studio is when I do these lives, I take clips, and then I'll make videos out of it, right? Like short form videos. And when I do that, my my whole life, my 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour live is closed captioned. So everything I say is written, but there's paragraphs, and everything I say is summarized. So you have the screen where you see me, then you have the screen where you see the text, the closed caption, and then you have the screen where there's paragraphs. So you'll have a big title of this part of the video speaks on, and it'll say, uh, directed conversation. And then it'll have smaller, like 3 to 4 smaller paragraphs that say, like, that will summarize what it is I talk about, right? I say that to say this. This tool is free to use, and it is not optional. I'm just saying, we think like, oh, there's an FBI agent watching us, when in reality they're just looking at, you know, what happened in this hour, and what is the summarization, right? And they might get like, you know, a notification like, oh, this person seems to be taking a shower at 3:46 or what, something like that, or this person was gossiping about someone else at 4:45, and then boom, they just go in and get that and use it, because they're not going to sit there, and there's like a million of us targeted individuals, all over the world. They're not going to sit there and like listen to whatever it is that we're saying. It's like, no, they have these summarizing tools. Oh, Lorna, um, God bless you as well. Hope to see you soon. Afraid of hacking or putting myself out the more, I guess. I mean, I get that, Camisa. I get that. People are afraid of speaking up. I get a lot of messages. You would be shocked at how many messages I get of people that write nothing to me but help. And I'm just sitting there like, how? We're not even in the same country. You want me to help you? How? Help you with what? And I know I sound like an asshole right now. I'm so sorry, but what I'm thinking to myself when people write help is, or like people plead to me to help them, I'm thinking, I'm already helping. I am helping. Do you do you not see what I'm doing? I'm exposing a black operation by the FBI and the CIA. Do you know what happens to people who expose these things? They get two in the back of the head, and then the police call it a self-unaliving. Like, I am helping. If anything, you help me do what I'm doing. Right? I mean, it's all I can think, and I can't help but feel awful because I know that these people are like in a panic, because I have been going through this for 20 years. This level of calmness while going through this has not appeared out of the blues. I'm not like, it's not like I'm the type of person that would remain calm in this. I've panicked many times, you know? So I understand where they're coming from, which is why like I'm not harsh with them. But when I get these like, eventually it's just like I get these messages so often, and I'm just like, no, you don't understand. You can't ask me for help. You have to help me help you. Help us. And of course, I mean, I can't talk to them like that because they're going through it. It would be super unsensitive and mean-spirited to talk to them like that. But all I want to tell them is, no, 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 no. You help me. You help me. I'm already helping you. And asking nothing in return. I don't want anything. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do, and I was brought up to do the right thing, no matter what. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's the right thing to do. You help me. Please. I beg of thee. No, right. We can only carry our own baggage, but help in the way we can. If I could do something to help, I would, you know? I mean, sometimes people will like send me messages saying, "Oh, I'm going through this and that. I need some money." I'm like, "You think I have money? What? Do I look like I have money to spare?" I don't. Um, but if I could, I would, and there was a time where I would not walk past a homeless person without giving them some kind of money change, or you know a small bill or of some kind or whatever. Nowadays, I'm like, I can't help anyone. I need help. I need help. I need help, and here I am helping, you know, perhaps not with money or anything like that, but with my life. I, I think it's very minimized. I think it's very minimized because I'm alive. I am alive. So it gets minimized, but I am putting my life on the line. You know? Let's put it this way, right? I am a CIA agent, top tier CIA agent. I'm up there, right? I'm very high on the scale or whatever. And I'm running the operation, the gang stalking operation, right? And I'm my mission is to remove anyone that is exposing the gang stalking program. Here I am. I go on YouTube and I write gang stalker, right? And I'm checking to see who is going to be my victim of self unaliving. And I see this guy, gang stalking investigations, and then I see this page that's an AI page, and then I see Chef Doug, who's that's crazy. No, Chef Doug was on TV. And then I see this video that you definitely should watch, by the way, The Disturbing World of Gang Stalking. You should watch that video. It explains what we're going through pretty accurately, and there's like 322,000 views. Besides the point, I keep going, and I see this page that doesn't have anyone again, and I see this Vice, thing that definitely did a terrible job of exposing gang stalking, but it's better than nothing. And then I see this guy and I go, all right, we're gonna go after this guy. Who is this guy? Yoshi EA or whatever. Then I see this page. No no face, whatever. And I see this guy again. Gang stalking investigations, why not? Right? Narc survivor again. And then I see this guy. Whoa, wait a second. 26,000 views on this video. And he's talking about gang stalkers, organized harassment. Who is this guy? Let's go figure out what's his deal, right? Let's go shut him up. I am helping, is the point I'm making. Anyways, I guess my point was made. I'm sorry for rambling. I'm trying to help, but I am shadow banned all the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm also suppressed. My videos, as you can see, my videos used to get like, 10,000 views was low back then. 9 months ago. It was low. 10,000 was low. Now I can't break 1,000. I can barely break 1,000. So I'm also suppressed. I just think that if all of us stood up, and spoke up, whether or not we're suppressed, they can't suppress all of us. They can suppress some of us. They can suppress most of us. They can't suppress all of us. I think we should speak up. I think we should show our faces, tell our stories, and not be afraid of looking ridiculous. Because that's one of the biggest fears that holds people back is they're afraid of how people around them will judge them. You know, I share gang stalking posts on my Facebook every day, and you know these posts get zero interactions, nothing. If I posted a picture of me and my wife. That picture get like 200 likes, 200 interactions on my Facebook, something like that, 100 or 200. But if I share something about gang stalking, it gets zero interaction, none, zero. And I share every single day. I share a picture of my dog, 60 likes immediately, instantly. But yeah, I still share it. I still share it. I think we all should. I think we all should. I think if we all did, the jig would be up. And I realize that it's not realistic. That won't happen. That probably won't happen. And when I say the jig would be up, I don't mean that if we all spoke up, it would stop. It wouldn't. What I'm saying is that if we all spoke up, that would be the first step to making this end. That's the first step. I'm not saying it's the only step. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of steps that will follow. What I'm saying is that none of the other steps will come until all of us speak up. And, I do realize that, like, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to give you crap about not speaking up, Gracie, because I started speaking up about it after being 18 years into it. All right. I'm not better than anyone. I'm not special. I'm doing this because after going through it for 18 years and seeing other people's situations that are much worse than mine, I've come to the conclusion that this is never going to stop. After seeing videos of people from 20 years back, almost 15, 17 years back, talking about gang stalking in details, explaining things that they were going through that I've been going through. I've come to realize this is going nowhere. This is not going to stop unless we stop it. So, I feel like they have turned life for everyone into despotism to make gang stalking easier. Well, within the context of your sentence, I'm guessing despotism is like Great Depression or something like that. But I don't know what it means because I don't. Where a single leader holds absolute unlimited power. Okay, no, it's not. You're talking about like totalitarianism, tyranny. You know, I think that the destruction of the economy, which, by the way, is orchestrated and always has been every single time it happened, because we are on planet Earth, and planet Earth is plentiful. As much as politicians would try to convince you that we're overpopulated, we occupy 1% of the land. What? What'd you say? Humans occupy 1% of the landmass. The Earth is not overpopulated. Congress is overpopulated. Politics is overpopulated. The Earth is not overpopulated. Earth is bountiful, very bountiful. There is no such thing as scarcity on Earth. They would have you believe it. There's no such thing. Take your ass to the Amazon forest. Tell me about scarcity. Anyways, but I do believe that the destruction of the economy was precursor. Is that the word I'm saying? Is that the word I want to say? I don't know. Ma première langue, c'est pas l'anglais. C'est le français. But yeah, I do believe that the social economic state of the world. I'm on my Jaden Smith shit right now. The social economic state of the world has been manipulated to basically make this operation go smoother. To those who are awakened, it's very obvious. To those who are not awakened, they're just listening to me right now going, okay, here he goes with the conspiracy theories. You're helping in a big way. I've learned a lot about the psychological side of being gang stalked. Well, I'm glad. I think that I think that it really helps a lot to know, to understand it in that manner, to understand the psychological side of it all, to understand narcissism, to understand that it has nothing to do with you. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like, right? So, a big tactic behind gang stalking is shaming. It's shaming the victims, right? By saying things that they're embarrassed about, or saying things that you just makes them feel shame. And one of the ways that you remove the power from that is understanding that, you know, you're being judged by the worst of the worst, you know, or that often they're projecting things about themselves onto you, you know. So a lot of things that are being used to try to shame me, I really see as like, I don't care what you think of me. I could care I could care less. I would much rather be my flawed self than be you any time of any day of the week. You're a miserable, horrible person. Look what you're doing. I would never do that. You're a loser. You're a loser. Zersetsun showed its face in front of you, and you decided to participate in it. And you think you have some kind of high moral ground because you know one of my sins, or you know of my sins. Your judgment is infinitely worthless. You are the worst of the worst. Rock World says, I met a couple of other TIs in Wisconsin when they forced me in the mental hospital. I bet there's a bunch of TIs in mental hospitals. Probably a bunch of them who don't even know that they're TIs as well. I have a family member who's a TI as well. And, you know, he went to a mental hospital. They've convinced him that he has paranoid schizophrenia. The whole time he's dealing with V2K, you know. There's this other thing I wanted to show you guys before I leave. I wanted to show you guys. CSIS. Who knows what CSIS is? Do you? Do you? Do you? CSIS. Do you know what CSIS is? CSIS. The Canadian. There it is. The CSIS is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. Basically, it's the Canadian intelligence. There you go. It's basically the Canadian CIA. Basically. Let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick. Real quick. Ooh. CSIS, hiring in these Canadian cities for jobs that pay you almost $100,000 to spy. What? Job duties include conducting discreet physical surveillance, as in gang stalking.
important. This is by the way, for those who are not Canadian, this is the interface of a government website. These are job postings on a government website. When you see this, this is the interface of a government website. All right, let's continue. Do not discuss your application with others, including on social media, besides your partner or close family members who should also be reminded about the need to be discreet. September 3rd, 2026. Job category entry level. Now, my audience is smart and they're already thinking something. If you're thinking something, put it in the comments, but I'll point it out in a second. All right. My audience is smart. Show me. Show me. Canadian citizens. Who can apply? Canadian citizens. Burnaby, British Columbia, Calgary, Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, Gatineau, Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, which is where I live, by the way. Toronto, Ontario, which is really bad. I have a friend who's from the UK who's currently in Toronto, and it's really bad. Anyways, what are we thinking? Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on. What are we thinking when we see all of this? What are your thoughts? Share with me. Share with me. I'll give you mine. I'll give you mine. I want you to share your thoughts with me about what I just showed you. Point something out. What are you thinking? What's your thought process when you see this? Gang stalkers make about 80 to 90K a year if they are full time. Okay. They've been paying them the whole time. Yes. Yes, they have been paying them the whole time. It's now confirmed. They're no longer hiding it. The incentive, yes. It, it all makes sense. You're thinking to yourself, why would people do all these things to me? You know, why would they waste so much energy into messing with me? Doing these petty little things like saying something I said the day before, mentioning something I watched or read the day before. Why? Damn, how much would they offer me? I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking they're getting bold. They don't care about spying on you. Yeah. 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 If they're paying out that much, how powerful am I really? They're paying that much because it's a tax funded program. I don't know about how powerful you or I or any of us is. That's why gang stalkers go hard because the money is there. You can't be controlled. CSIS bangers, cray cray. I'm sure Kevin just didn't see your comment. What? Who are you talking to? I don't know why you're ignoring me my comments. Is it a reason? I isolate so much. I don't trust any doctors. All right. Don't don't do that. I didn't see your comment. That's crazy. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm being mean right now. I'm sorry. All right. I'm sorry. I'm being I'm being I'm being mean. That's my bad. I apologize. Sincerely. Yeah, I guess I did ignore your comments. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. No, 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 no. That's my bad. That's my bad. When reading text, sometimes you don't have tone. Tone is not involved in reading text. The perceived tone was an impatient and entitled one. But my perception is not your responsibility. So, we're fine. That's my bad. Gang stalkers themselves are also being watched to make sure they are doing the job. Yeah, and to make sure that they don't talk. I agree 100%. Don't sell your soul. It makes sense now, but no amount is worth selling out your soul. Yeah, I sent this to my cousin because my cousin doesn't believe me that I'm being gang stalked. I sent this to my cousin, and then when he saw this, he was like, "Dude, I almost applied for this myself." And obviously, I was like, "Yeah, it's funny." But then I asked him, "Does this change anything for you? Like all this crazy stuff I've been talking about, being gang stalked, being followed, you know, my brother being followed as well. Does this change anything for you? Like, do you believe it even just a little bit, or do you still think like it's in my head?" And he said, "It changes nothing. I still think it's in your head." And of course, I didn't continue the conversation. I just said, "Okay, all right," because I realized like I'm just not gonna change anyone's mind about the reality of gang stalking. Unless you go through it, you're just not gonna believe in it. And he said some things to me. He was just like, you know, "I can't change the world. As long as this doesn't affect me, I don't care about it." And I appreciated the honesty, honestly, because that's how most people feel about it. You know, it's like it's either I don't believe you, or it's like even if I did believe you, this is not happening to me. I don't care. It's like I'm sorry it's happening to you, but it's not like I can do anything about it. And it's like, I mean, his words were like, "I can't do anything about it. I'm not gonna try." And you know, I mean, my cousin is not exactly a person that has a lot of empathy, but most people don't have a lot of empathy. And it kind of opens my eyes to the reality that a lot of people, they're not necessarily non-believers. They don't care because their thought process is, this will never affect, like, this is not affecting me now, and it will never affect me. So what do I care? And immediately I thought to myself, you haven't suffered enough. Because it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Suffering will make you a better person if you allow it to. Or sometimes suffering, the fires of our refinement, sometimes the fire will consume you and you'll be part of the fire. But yeah. This is one of the reasons why there are some days where I'm just like, I don't feel like getting on this mission of trying to raise awareness about this because it's not, first of all, it's not going to change anything. And the truth is nothing, nothing will happen until we've all suffered. Maybe not we've all suffered, but nothing will change. Like, people will not open their eyes, awaken until they've suffered. Because for some people, the words mean nothing. The warnings mean nothing. They have to feel it to believe it. Everybody got to feel a little pain before they realize, yeah, pretty much, pretty much. That's exactly what I'm saying. Trust me, no entitlement. I get treated like trash every day. They make sure I don't belong. I think the reason why I'm not reading your comments was because your profile picture is white. So it just like subconsciously made me skip it. I'm sorry. My bad. This is an awful way to live. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, it's honestly it's my bad. You know, I went back and I kept looking and I was like, I did skip a lot of it. Like I skipped his comments. Or her. I don't know if you're a man or a woman. But I did skip your comment. It's my bad. It's my bad. That's my bad. Honestly. I cope through focusing on my own things. Yeah. Yeah. Same. I try to focus on the things I can control and remaining positive. I've been playing Final Fantasy IX. It's it's very funny to play these Final Fantasy games or these Final Fantasy type games where like, you know, you're always saving the world from this evil narcissistic antagonist or psychopathic antagonist. Um, like Final Fantasy VII, where you have to defeat Sephiroth, who's extremely narcissistic. It's very interesting, and you know, sorry, much like what you know what we're going through, the mission seems like an impossible one, like an obvious, like, oh, you're not going to succeed. That you're not going to succeed. That's not happening. But while playing a game, you have that same feeling of like, oh, I'm never going to defeat this guy. He's like way stronger than all of us, you know? And instead of giving up, they kind of get excited at the thought of, no, we're going to keep going until we can, you know? And eventually you can. And I feel like this needs to be added to life, you know? This idea of, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to succeed, but I'm excited. I'm excited about, you know, I mean, not today, not in particular today, but often I get excited at the idea of like, no, I'm gonna keep, you know, chipping away at this until it's gone. What? Of course, like that's the mission. I'm gonna get it on until I'm dead. What? Of course. But aren't you afraid, you know, they're gonna they're gonna take you. They already are. They already are. I didn't declare war on them. They declared war on us. But you know, try to explain that to people. They'll never understand it. They'll never get it because they don't see what we deal with. as targeted individuals, we suffer so much. We suffer things that people should never suffer through. Never. The invasion of our privacy, electronic harassment, directed energy weapons, V2K, stalking, physical stalking, electronic stalking, humiliation rituals, directed conversation, vandalism, workplace mobbing, financial ruin, romantic relationship being destroyed, smear campaigns. We suffer so much. And it is all done in a way that is so insidious, meticulous, gradual, slow, that by the time everything is gone, the infrastructure of your life is gone, you're not even able to point at anything or anyone for being responsible. Everybody's just looking at you like, get it together. But the only solution is to keep going, keep trying, keep going, keep trying. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter. You have to be the star player of your team of one. No matter what, you have to show up for yourself every single day and go, I don't care. I applied to 1,000 different places, 1,000 different jobs, and I got no call. We're doing 1,001 now. That's what we're doing. Never stop showing up for yourself. All the while, you have to also not become bitter while being sabotaged and putting extra effort. You have to not become bitter and not give in to, wanting or getting revenge, because that will not bring you happiness or anywhere near where you need to be. It will make their jobs easier as soon as you react to anything they do. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been set up to try to make me react in anger. And, every time it happens, every time I think about it, I'm always thinking to myself, like, you thought that would work? Well, then you don't know me. You thought I would lose it on you for that? You don't know me. That's not who I am. That's who they've convinced you that I am. But that's not who I am. If you knew me, you would know that this is futile. I'm gonna read some comments and then I'll go. But yeah. I heard a lady. She has like 7 subscribers and I'm one of them. But she was talking about gang stalking, and she was just saying, she was saying a bunch of things that were also not true. She was like, there's no such thing as V2K. If you're hearing V2K voices, it's because your noise campaign is, making you lack sleep. And if you're lacking sleep, you're probably gonna have some kind of like hallucinations and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I'm just listening to her. I'm just like, some of the things you're saying make a lot of sense, but V2K is real. Just because you're not going through it doesn't mean that it's not real. It is real. It's happening. Um, but she did say something that was very important. And what she said that was important was this whole thing, it's just built to make you give up at life, you know? But all you can do is focus on what you can control. And one thing you can control is this, you know? Keep showing up for yourself no matter what. And keep trying. Keep going, Like, you can't find an apartment. You visited a bunch of apartments. They're not calling back. They're refusing you or whatever. Keep it up. Keep going. You've applied for a bunch of jobs. You can't get one. Keep going. Keep it up. Keep going. You know? Because the truth is, they might have you convinced that everyone is in on it. Everyone is talking behind your back. Everyone is involved. Everyone is corrupted. But that's not the truth. That's the illusion. There are people that are uncorruptible. There are people that if, the FBI, the CIA, CSIS, the RCMP, your local police department, if they show up at their doors to try to talk about you, they're gonna, first of all, they're not even gonna listen to them. They're gonna be like, I don't want to hear none of that. Get away from my house, right? Um, but there are also some people that, even if they are told things about you that are unsavory, that are meant to make them turn against you, they're they're just gonna listen to it and be like, what is it? What are you guys doing? This is what my taxes are going to for you to talk crap about my neighbor? Get out of my house. So you just got to keep going. You keep going. And the truth is, when going through experiences like this, oftentimes the only thing that will happen is, or ultimately what will happen is, you're gonna find your real friends. You're gonna find who's really for you, who's really with you, and who's not. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing. It's much better to have, these fake people out of your life early in the game rather than give your energy to someone that's going to betray you in the future, undoubtedly. Every single time someone betrayed me, I mean, I didn't say the words, but I thanked them in my mind. I was like, thank you. Thank you for revealing who you are. I mean, some of them I was just like, yeah, I expected this from you. It's fine. You know, good riddance. But some people I was just like, wow, I didn't expect it. Thank you for revealing who you really are. And, sometimes I fall into the idea of, these are good people. And I believe that, by the way. But these are good people. They've been fooled into participating in this. But I always revert back to what my wife said. Don't tell her. But I always revert back to what my wife said, which is, would you do this? Would you participate in something like this for any reason? No, never. And it's not because I'm aware of the existence of this program. It's because that's not me. I would never. So there's a lot of negatives that come with being gang stalked, but there's also a lot of positive. A lot of positive for character building. Character building. Hate that expression. But there's a lot for character building. There's a lot of positive for saturating your environment, the people around you. The evil people around you reveal themselves. The weak among you reveal themselves. The gullible, the corruptibles reveal themselves. Isn't that a blessing? I think so. All right, guys. Thank you for being with me tonight. I pray you have a blessed night. I pray you have a great week. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep showing up for yourself. You know, don't react to anything that they do. In all attacks, in every attack, there is a hidden blessing. You know, I've been dealing with this friend of mine that I secretly could not stand because I knew she was an evil person. And then she did like some really horrible directed conversation BS with me. And immediately I was so happy. I was like, oh, I get to block you. I get to never speak to you again. And then immediately that person she called my landlord. She called my landlord to ask her, hey, he blocked me. I hope he doesn't think I said any like mean stuff about him. And you know, my landlord was like, I don't want to get involved or anything. I'm just, you know, bring you the message that was brought to me. And I was like, I don't want to get you involved in it either. But there's no mistake. I didn't block her by mistake. I blocked her. My landlord was like, okay, all right. This is how far they go with their gaslighting, you know, and their manipulation. But I was so happy to be rid of this person. So happy. What a blessing to never have to speak to you again. In the words of Future, I never liked you. All right, guys. Oh, because she knows my landlord. We're friends, all of us. Well, we were friends, all of us. Sorry, I didn't. That was weird to say my landlord. I mean, she is my landlord, but she's also a very close friend of mine. I was at her house today. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, the point I'm making is that yes, this is a, you know, horrible experience. I don't want to, you know, undersell it, but the positives are, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, of course. Of course I can get a person kicked out of their home, you know? Yeah. I mean, my gang stalking experience got me kicked out of, I used to rent this place. You know, I was giving dog training classes for like 4 years. I was renting this place from my mother-in-law at the time. At the time, I was renting from her, and then, you know, she joined in on my gang stalk and kicked me out immediately. And did a bunch of directed conversation with me, stuff like that. And at the time, I didn't even know I was being gang stalked. I just thought, this is so weird. It's almost every time I talk to her, I feel like she's reading my conversations online, you know? But yeah, I lost my business because of gang stalking. That was 6 years ago. And that was 6 years ago. I ran that business for 4 years very successfully. I helped so many people. I helped so many people with their dogs. I had the cheapest prices, you know, great service. Obviously, I try to give great customer service to everybody. Um, 5 stars all across the board, on Facebook, on Google. I mean, I was the highest rated dog trainer in my city for a long time. Your current business, well, I'd rather keep that to myself. But yeah, they want us to lose it all. Yeah. Hey, Walaikum Salam, Gracie. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm not gonna stay either. Because of my gang stalking, I have a wrongful eviction on my rental history, where it's hard for me to find a place to live. I have to stay with my mom, who's helping with watching me. Yeah, I mean, this whole ordeal, it will put you in situations, and um, what I will say, the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is, um, there are damages that come with being gang stalked, and the whole experience of being gang stalked. There's a lot. It does a lot of damage to your life, right? Um, we can't change the past. We cannot change the past. You can't remove that wrongful eviction from your rental history. That can't be removed. What we can do is move forward. What we should do is move forward. So, you know, you move forward, you figure out a way. There are ways to move forward, and there are people that are still in our corner. We're not alone. I mean, there are some of us who are completely alone, unfortunately. But, you have your mother. We're not alone. If we have to game the system in order to be able to live, then that's what we do. If we have to not be 100% honest sometimes because our situation, I mean, you have to see it as, okay, I'm not being 100% honest, but um, look at my situation. It's not fair, so. Do you think they force people to gang stalk you like family, or they choose to participate? I think every single person who's ever participated in my gang stalking chose to do so. I don't think anyone was forced. I think there are people who are forced. I believe in my situation, no one was ever forced. I believe in my situation, everyone who participated was convinced that I'm a bad person and was driven to hate me. Though I remain kind to them, they hate me. And perhaps they have a good reason. They've heard me say, or they've seen me do something that, you know, through me being spied on, made them hate me. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I can be very impatient sometimes. And obviously, going through gang stalking for 18 years, I have had some really tough mental battles where I've done and said things that I'm quite ashamed of, and I carry a lot of guilt for. And these moments are all on record, being used to tear me apart, to destroy my reputation, to take my life away from me. Does not change anything for me. I know I'm a good person. I know myself. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm not the monster that they're portraying me to be. I know that a lot of the things that I've said and done were because of what I was suffering through, of my vibration being lowered through satanic torture, humiliation rituals. I'm not confused about my situation. That makes it much easier. It makes things much easier for me to go, oh, it's not me. It's not about me. Yes, yes, I've done some things that are wrong and they have access to it and they're using it to turn people against me, but I'm not a bad person. And I don't deserve any of this. I mean, at first it didn't help because it made me feel like, well, that's unfair. That's even worse. I don't deserve it. But I'm going through it. But now it's just like, yeah, I'm going through it. So I keep going. We got this. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Have a blessed week. I hope great things for you guys this week, and thank you for supporting me. And I'd like to apologize again to user W because I was rude to you, and it was completely uncalled for. That happens sometimes. I mean, I don't mean to like not take accountability for my actions, but I'm going through a lot, obviously. I'm going through a lot. And the comment that I read was the tone was it rubbed me the wrong way. But again, obviously, you're not responsible for how I read your tone. That's a me issue. So my apologies. I hope you guys have a great week. Stay blessed. You deserve grace. You deserve mercy. Love yourself. God loves you. I love you. Stay safe.